Guys, welcome to Shakti Essence. I have been MIA for almost 2 years, but here we go. I'm in Mexico and I was thinking, what do I love to do the most? And those who know me know that I love talking. So I thought, what can I do? And spiritual void kept coming into my mind, and I was like, okay, I think I think the podcast is in order. So I started connecting with all of my healers, friends, practitioners, and so forth. And one of my greatest healers is here, Amber. Welcome. So
You.
happy to have you here.
So happy to be here, darling. Thank you.
So yes, spiritual void, and we're gonna tap into what it is collectively. So I'm gonna read a description on the internet what it is, and then Amber will tell us what it is for her, what it means for her spiritual journey, and also what it means for her client's spiritual journey. So I'm super excited to learn more and to have a beautiful, high vibe conversation, and yeah, just bounce. So what is spiritual void? And okay, so this is about Zoom. 1 second, I'm not that now. Okay, so according to Britannica.com, spiritual void is emptiness. And it's also called nothingness or void. In mysticism and religion, a state of pure consciousness in which the mind has been emptied of all particular objects and images. Also, the I cannot say that. Undifferentiated, that word. Undifferentiated reality, a world without distinctions and multiplicity or quality of reality that the emptied mind reflects or manifests. Okay. So they're quite on point. Right, so let's dive in. What spiritual void is for you, Amber? And please.
Okay, spiritual void. Well, it's wide, so that's the first thing. And I actually had a beautiful client who gave me a gift in one of our sessions a few months ago, and she said that her therapist had said to her, "We're not going to go wide. We need to go deep in order to do the work that she was doing." And that's just come to my head straight away, hearing some of what was shared there and what I feel when I think of spiritual void. And it's like, void is the wideness, not necessarily the depth. It's quite broad, it's overwhelming, and it isn't supposed to be changed or altered. That is its purpose. It's for you to come above, below, over, whatever, however you see it, but you do have to go through it, basically. I think it is a massive part of the spiritual journey that is dismissed or overlooked or just kind of bounced over. But it's actually a big part of what we've all just experienced with whatever we've just gone through, with all of the health scares that we had and all of the stuff that we just went through as a world. We just went through a very massive, wide void space. So I would say for me, to sum it up, it's the overwhelm. It's a space of overwhelm.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Beautiful. Yeah, I can definitely relate to that. And when you said it's the wideness, I got goosebumps. Yeah. In my personal experience, the void always comes after so much deep inner work. So that deep work, right? And then what is left is this space of, okay, what do we do now?
Yeah.
Right? And it's scary because I think as healers, as society, we are so into the go, 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 fix, 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 heal, 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 right? And then that space of nothingness leaves us just to be.
Yeah.
And integrate what we have healed, which in itself is another spiritual step, right?
Yeah.
Which we sometimes cannot master because we're like, oh my God, what do? We can't sit still. No, we don't want to. Like, let's go. Let's go. Another lesson, right? Another deep dive, where is what you said. It's the mindfulness and just being still and just integrating what you healed, right?
Yeah, I think it's definitely a space of integration. And I think for me, it always shows up when I think I've mastered something. So it's very much the think isn't real, is it? You know, our thoughts, they just tell us not what we want to hear, and we are learning, but the mind is just so not the greatest part of us. It's the wholeness of us that's the great part, not to dismiss but we put the mind as this oneness, and it's like we're learning through the spiritual journey that it's actually just a factor, it's not the whole thing. So we think we've mastered this thing called the spiritual journey, the awakening, the 3D to 5D, whatever language kind of floats your boat. And then you come up against this kind of void space that's like, why is it quiet? Why is nothing happening? Why have I got to sit with myself? What does it mean to be? What, all this stuff. And then you're like, oh, okay, yeah, I've mastered barely anything. Like I'm back in that's like you said. And then it's like another step in, and maybe, on reflection of me saying like a lot of people aren't speaking about it, but maybe they are. It's just you can't read it until you've experienced it. And also, what's the point? It's kind of like there's like little secret chambers in all this work, isn't there? And this is one of them where you're like, why wouldn't someone tell me about this part? And it's like, because you wouldn't believe it if we told you. You wouldn't get on with your journey of healing if you knew that there was going to be these kind of overwhelming wide spaces.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And what also comes up to me is that it comes unexpected. So, right? So even if we do all this work and then we're like, okay, like as you said, oh, I have mastered that. Oh, the sun is shining so beautifully.
Oh, yes.
And then it just sneaks up on you. And you're like, ugh, what is this?
Yes.
I was supposed to be happy.
Yeah.
Right? It's like you're waiting for that consolation prize and you're like, okay, yeah, it's coming. And then you go like, boom.
Yeah.
Silence.
Yeah.
And you don't know what to do with it.
And I think that if you're someone who meditates and you're listening and you want to understand it on that level, this is like the fourth dimension like level of things, if that makes sense. So if you want to think in like 3D, 5D, 7D, all the way up to all the Ds that there are, the fourth dimension is the void. So the fourth dimension is the space. And when I have gone into that space, it's where every thought that's ever been thought by every human being, everything that's been on earth, it's in there. And when I was in there, I felt like I could not breathe because it was so overwhelming of all the amount of thoughts that I come across that were nothing to do with my own, but every single one of my thought is in that space. It was just too much to be able to stay there in that space. But I asked to feel, what is this? Everyone talks about 3D, everyone talks about 5D. What's going on in 4D? Why are we not being told about that as like a significant step? And then I got it. I was like, because if we were here, we would literally feel insane forever. But there is a bit of that with the spiritual journey where you do question your sanity. You do question, am I losing it? Or am I overthinking this one? Or is this in my head? Or are these visions that I'm seeing, are these dreams that I believe in? Am I just like, you do have to go through this questioning, doubtful space, which belongs to the fourth dimension, because it means you are stepping towards. And interestingly, I posted today something about touching on miracles. you can't believe in the miracle energy if you don't believe and know and understand doubt. You've really got to go through this swing, even though the aim is to come away from polarity and duality as you rise. You have to go through this swing and pendulum of that. And I think the fourth dimension is a really overwhelming space to explore that. You won't be able to stay there for long, but you do need to touch that step and keep moving, but be like, okay, what's this?
Yeah, I like what you said about us not really wanting to be in the fourth dimension, right? In a spiritual community, no one thinks about fourth dimension. It's like, oh, we just go from the third and we straight away jump in the fifth because apparently that's how spiritual journey works. Well, no, not really. And this is why, because we don't want to sit in that everythingness, which is nothingness.
Yeah.
Which is nothing at the same time, and everyone and no one, because it's like, it's thoughts, right? So is it even real? Like, right. And it's like, right? Yeah, it's exactly that. I love that.
Everyone wants to be suppose assured, don't they? It's this assurance. We're all looking for this reassurance, but that comes back to assurance, like just being assured. And those spaces, then that's not the purpose of those spaces. But that's the beauty of those spaces, is they have a purpose. If you look at their purpose and you understand why you might need to focus on this bit for a moment, that it's only temporary. It's not, you don't have to stay in this void space. You don't have to stay in this what feels low vibrational, because it's like, is it like vibrational? Is it just neutral? Is it showing you everything that there possibly could be? Which is overwhelming when we're constantly looking for reassurance and assurance, constantly looking for the answer. And it's like, well, you're not going to find the answer in the 4D or the void space. You're going to come up against something that you need to see in yourself that's uncomfortable, which is the medicine for that space. The 5D will give you something else, and it take the dimensions out of it, because it sounds like I don't even necessarily speak as much that language, but I just find it's an easy way for people to understand that. But even just coming in your truth, you have to go into this tricky void-like space. You have to feel like, I feel nothing. I feel an emptiness. You need to know what that feels like in order for you to know what you want to feel,
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of
I totally resonate with that. And it just comes down to simple life things, right? It's like, if you don't know sadness, you will not appreciate happiness, right?
Right.
And every time I have been in that void space, and by the way, it just repeats, right? Like,
background, yeah,
just like everything does, it cycles, and every time it happens, there is more gratitude, because it's like, got goosebumps. It's more gratitude, because it's like, you definitely know that you have done that work,
right?
Because maybe the work, as probably you mentioned, maybe the work wasn't what we thought the work was, but the work is that space of really sitting with yourself. Because I don't know what it feels for you, but for me, I don't want to do anything.
No, I like to sit with it. I feel very still and very I had, because I'm really in this space of understanding like neutrality. Interestingly, the void is usually what sparks me to kind of connect to that, but I've never noticed it before. But actually, it's about being neutral. It's like, I don't want to argue with anyone, but I also don't want to placate anyone. I don't want to do anything. I just, if it was you in a room that was having confrontation in front of you, you would be the person just watching. You wouldn't be reacting. You're just literally, if it was a scene, it would be, your eyes are going to the one person, listening to them, and then taking it to that person instead. And just like having no effect on you, and you just maybe leaving the room at most as an option. It's like, it's a very, and even just thinking about it, it doesn't feel nice. But I'm like, sometimes I'm you know, I'm really understanding myself that because when you're used to chaos and trauma, even if you've been healing that for a very long time, you still have that as a memory, is like that means you're feeling something. So you want to feel all the time, this addiction of feeling, forgetting that neutrality is a sense of feeling. It's feeling not very much, but there is something there. There's like this baseline of connecting more to the calmness than the chaos, right? But again, it's still not calm. It's still not maybe a content, blissful feeling, but it's just unfamiliar. And we will avoid that. So I find that, yeah, when I'm the same, when I'm in that space, I don't want to do anything. I don't want to help anyone. I often can't. I often get, for me, forced rest shows up in those spaces. So I'll get unwell. I'll feel unhealthy, where I have to not work, have to not kind of give much apart from what I give to my daughter. I'll give like really baseline because I haven't got it to give. But that's more because of the forced rest. But when it happens, when I'm, I suppose, in a healthier space physically, it's still got this very, I'm quiet. I feel quite quiet in the world, and I haven't got anything to share with anyone. I haven't got an opinion on anything. Yeah. I'm just kind of here, but able to see everything, which is why I'm quiet, because it's quite overwhelming, because you might have an opinion, but then you see the other side of it straight away. It's very like...
Yeah. It's so interesting that you what you said about forced rest, because I have never actually seen it that way. But now, as we are having this conversation, on Sunday, I was really present. I was really present, talking to someone, listening, trying to be a shoulder to the person. Wasn't crying. Well, it's not crying, right? Mm-hmm. And yes, I was surrounded by a lot of smoke, because I've been sober for 3 years and I don't smoke. Right. But everyone here in the bar was smoking, and I was like, ooh, this might be not good for me, you know, because I don't stay in places like that for long, right? But I have done a lot of emotional work, processing rather, right? The next morning, literally 4 hours later, I woken up with a massive migraine. Mm-hmm. And what migraine does to me is forced rest.
Right.
I can't do anything. Like I cannot look at my phone. I cannot be even upset that I am going through that, because if I am upset, my head will hurt more. And it's just a great analogy and great representation of what the void is. You can't do anything. And actually you can't be upset, because you know that if you get upset, if you're gonna get yourself worked up, it's gonna be worse than it really is, right?
Yeah, it's a very much right amplified space. It does, kind of like being in the middle of a clear quartz. You're just amplifying things. It's like, just be still, just stay still, think nothing, feel nothing, just be.
Yeah, and exactly that. So it's actually, I think it's correct to say that the void doesn't even have to last long, you know. Mm-mm. So for me, for example, it lasted until I came across the right people to request painkillers, because I was like, I'm gonna be fine, you know. And I had to speak with my dad, because I promised him, and I thought, okay, I will. I'm just not gonna move, and I'm just gonna speak and let him speak. And he was like, why are you not getting painkillers? And I was like, yeah, why am I not getting painkillers?
Yeah. Suffering.
Right? And then after a few more hours, I was out of that space. I was grateful because I was able to be still. And I am in the hostel right now, so I'm with people all the time. Right. And there is no time for me to just be by myself in that nothingness, you know?
Right.
So it's interesting. It's very interesting how our body, our consciousness just makes us go into it, whether we want it or not. Like,
yeah, 100%. Because like you said, it doesn't have to be long, but we avoid it, and then it sometimes has to be a longer stint. because of our own projection of like, oh, well, now I have to suffer here because look what I have avoided. And it's like, no, you can still have the short stint there, but humans are humans and choose suffering.
Exactly. Yeah. And I just want to touch a little bit more on what you said about forced stress, because you have, when was it, like a few months ago, right? When you was continuously sick, you would get better and
well,
then straight away get worse.
Yeah, it's from August till about 2 months ago. I was just talking about it with a friend. It was from August last year. It was like a good run of about 6-7 months of just back-to-back colds, and it was all stuff that was like minute, but it was just so debilitating and just very frustrating. And and it definitely when I got really sick in August, that was like a big void moment that felt horrible. And then by the end of it, I was like elated by the truth and the understanding and the revelations, and then the gratitude. It felt like I'd done ayahuasca again. It was that kind of feeling. It was like, ooh, like wow. But at first it felt terrible and just like, woe is me, victim, real dark in the dumps. Because also I feel the void space has two sides to it, like everything. It has that yin yang, it has that soft and hard, it has all of it in it. It's just what kind of way you want to flow in that. And also, where you want to come in that middle ground of it. Like, yes, I could flip over here and be acting insane, or I could come over here and be acting all elated. But actually, where's both of them? Where does that both exist for me? Where I could be feeling something that's a little bit more calm, but also got this excitement to it or goodness to it, whatever word we resonate with. So yeah, I've gone through it a few times over the last couple of years. I've had a few moments. And even recently, like I would say it was trying to come in, but I was like, no, I don't need you to come in, because I know what's happening there. I know what old pattern is trying to come in, but I don't need the lesson. I know what's happening. And I know that I don't have to take that mentality that is very much connected to the void. It's connected more to, I now know better. So it's okay. I don't need that tool today. I don't need that. So there was a real awareness of like, something's trying to creep in here that I know it's not necessary for me to feel, but I appreciate it. What didn't feel like, oh, low vibration is coming for me. It's more like, I get why you're coming. I'm showing signs that I want to come into that, but actually, no, I'm good. Like, I know what's happening, and I know I just need to process, and I'm going to process.
And that gives, as for me personally, what I'm hearing from what you're saying is that you are creator of your experiences.
100%. And I think when you feel like you've lost control and it's down to everything else, and that responsibility is outward, and like, my God's my guide, my this, my that, like, that's another part of the journey, the spiritual journey that is spoken about, but not everybody's ready for, because that's your way in, your God, your outside God, and your outside guides. But when you start having this deep connection with your higher self, and it's really, really is like daily practice, like you do your affirmations, or like you drink your tea, or you're brushing your teeth, your higher self's got your back. Yeah. But it will always stay in its lane. It will always stay on its square, in the sense of it doesn't need to raise its voice to get your attention. It will speak calmly and softly and gently. And you need to quieten everything so that you can always hear that voice. And when you do that, when you start, and I think that's a lifelong mastery. I don't care what anyone says who's like, think they've mastered it. It's a lifelong, because you don't know what obstacle is going to get in your way, in a way that makes you feel like life doesn't mean anything. Anything could happen to you at any given point, right? And so when you have that voice and that trust with that voice, you start creating your own reality. I think it's not about the things, but before that, because it's new, it's like, oh, it's because you start seeing your physical world change a lot when you first start on this journey. So you think that's how it's always going to be, but actually the deeper you go in, if anything, it minimizes. Things become irritating. You want less, but you do want that connection more and more and more. And so, yeah, so you do, yeah, definitely do start creating your own reality. I believe that too. I hadn't given it thought like that, but yeah, that's definitely what that moment was for me the other day. I was like, no, it's okay.
Yeah, because I think we do need it, but then if like yourself, you go through it for such a extended periods of time, you know, you also choose. It's all about choice, you know.
Yeah.
You choose that, you know what? No, like I have, like we good for
Mhm.
now, right? And then when you need it, I guess your soul, your spirit, your higher self allows you to come back into it, and maybe in a different kind of way
Yeah,
per
when
se.
it reminds me when you were saying when I did ayahuasca, when I was in the darkness, I call it the darkness and the bliss. When I was in the darkness, I was on like a roller coaster that was all black and everything was neon, like Mexican kind of, you know, the Day of the Dead kind of celebration, very bright, like neon colors. So it was still really beautiful, but it was terrifying when I was in it. It was very, very scary, overwhelming. The breath was like, you know, a lot of this was going on for me, and just feeling extremely overwhelmed. But also, this presence of love was just impounding me. You know, it felt like something was like that against, like above that darkness. Anyway, every time I went down the roller coaster or turned on the roller coaster, I would say to Mother Ayahuasca, okay, I'm ready now. I want to go to the bliss. And she'd say, yep, that's it. That's your last turn. And I go, okay. And then I'd go down this roller coaster, and I started getting really, really frustrated and angry with her. And I was like, I want to respect you, but I don't understand why you're telling me I'm coming off of this roller coaster ride and I keep going on it. And she said, because you won't let go. I've told you, you can come here. She kept showing me the way. She said, but you keep doing that mentally. I'm not doing that. She said it actually way more spiritually like woo woo than that, but that was the sentiment that I came back with. And I remember I opened my eyes, the guy who was guiding me said, just surrender, Amber, just surrender, you're really fighting. And obviously I'm thinking I'm in this on my own, so he's obviously physically seeing me, must be moving, tossing, turning, I don't know, something breathing wise. And I don't know what it was. I think I looked at the plant. I could see the plant was breathing because of what you can visually see once you're in that medicine. And I just let out this sigh. And I remember I felt like it just never ended. And I just sunk back and I went into the bliss. It was all me. It was nothing. I was thinking this outside force of Mother Ayahuasca was controlling how I keep going on this roller coaster, how I keep going into this darkness. And it was just me who just needed to go, oh, I can't do it anymore. Okay. And I just let go. And it's been my biggest lesson, like in life, that experience, because it shows up in life still now. It doesn't stop me from going back on sort of these roller coasters of going into these darker paces or darker emotions. But like I said the other day, and you know, I did ayahuasca now 4-ish years ago. So I'm still learning, because it's only taken till sort of the other day where I'm like, no, I'm not going to go down the roller coaster. I know what's down there. I know what I'm going to feel there. And I'm going to just sit with this. And this is actually better than going further into it. This is the depth I need. It's not about not going deep. When you need to go deep, yeah, you've got to go into the void. But when you've learned your lesson, it's like, come on, you know better, do better.
Yeah.
Trust that you can.
Wow, I have, you know what? You sharing your ayahuasca journey actually made something click for me as well. The way my ayahuasca journey was. Oh, ooh, shit. Basically, the second, so because I have done 2 ceremonies, one after another.
Amazing.
And the first one, I handled it much better. The second one, I was really tired, and I knew she's gonna come and crack my nuts. And all I can remember is this darkness and these eyes looking at me, and me being in excruciating amounts of pain.
Wow.
I could not be in it. Like my body was doing all these like weird movements. Oh my God, it hurt so bad. And I remembered that I can open my eyes. And I was like, oh my God, I can open my eyes. I don't have to go through this. I don't have to go through this. And you know what? Like I fought, I fought the entire time. My shame that the guy, he's not the shaman, but the guy I was doing it with, or the guy who was looking after us, let's say, he was like, you know, doing all the healings, trying to help me. And I was like, fuck no. No, 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 no. I'm not going back in there. I was like, no chance. And I could feel like my soul, my body was like trying to like pull me back down there. And I was like, no, like it just hurt me so much. I could not go back in, you know. And eventually the guy could feel that I needed to go to the bathroom, and he let me out, and I just dropped on my knees and I begged him not to let me go back, because I was feeling not just my own stuff but other people's stuff. And what I got from that was that, you know, I always overstayed my welcome. So when I was in danger, I never kind of left. I mean, I have done, but in certain moments, I guess maybe relationships, I overstayed until I was very damaged. So this fight that I had to do with myself during ayahuasca, it traumatized me so bad that I haven't done ayahuasca for 3 years.
No, I felt like that after, and I think maybe that was what the medicine was like. Maybe you knew you didn't have, there's no wrongs or rights, but maybe it was that you didn't need to do the second session, but you was like, it's that overstaying your welcome thing of like, no, I'm committing because of, you know, the brain side of the humanness of like, no, see it through, you have to, it would be, you can't do it, but you knew in your soul already, like, no. So then Mother Ayahuasca's like, okay, you want to be hidden, this is what you're gonna experience, because you knew in yourself, you know, you didn't need me to, you knew. So maybe that was
so it was a journey, it was a contract. I do resonate what you said, but I was like, give me money, like provide me with the money, with to do one session or two. She provided me with so much money that I did the sessions and I took the month off because I was so fucked. So I think it served a great lesson to me, and I'm having this realization right now that was the void.
Right. Yeah.
But my void was those eyes, you know, because of my past, everything is eyes and everything is hands, right? And it's interesting that I'm seeing this right now, like, okay, I did not surrender, but I didn't have to surrender back then, you know. Maybe the lesson for me at that point was, you know, not surrendering, like what you said when you said, you know what, no, I'm good. You know, so it's very interesting take. And like you said, it's for you, it's been 4 years, did you say?
Yeah, 4 years in September.
3 years.
Yeah, August, 4 years.
For me 3 years, and no, it was 3 years, so 4 years this October. And the lessons just keep unraveling,
right?
It's really not how many times you do it, it's how you integrate it. Right? That void space.
Yeah, the void is how you integrate it, for sure. 100%.
Awesome. Wow, this conversation just
been beautiful.
A few turns, but I'm like, ooh, wow, yeah, amazing. So would you mind to share how it is for your clients then?
Good question. Can't speak obviously on behalf of them, you know, their feelings, their experience, but from my viewpoint, I would say that I'm probably the healer that people come to once they've been through that space. Mm-hmm. And the reason I say that is not to say that you won't go through it again after, but well, you will. But I think that sounds I don't know what this sounds like, but I'm just going to say it how it's coming from my soul, which is like, I am an answer. I'm part of your answering. You know, like you've asked a question to God, and if you've ended up near me after being in that space of void, spiritual void, I am part of the answer. I'm not the whole answer, but I am definitely part of the answer. I have clients where, you know, it is based in the emotional work, but usually what it is because they're so tired of being in that space. So I find that I'm not with people that are like, no one really enjoys being in that space, but that the addictions of that space, I suppose, is not having to feel anything. And if you've been through real bad trauma, that can feel quite comfortable to be like, well, this is better than me feeling everything I've ever been through. Mm-hmm. So that's like one element that I would be.
I'm so sorry. I'm just gonna move the table because my forehead is burning. I can't stay suffering any longer.
So you can't. I don't think you could work with me if you're in the void as such. But I am definitely the person that is part of your answer. Because I'm going to give you some tools to kind of help you the next time that feeling comes forward. But I would say for my clients, well, everyone's individual with it, but I do think it's a point of breaking when it comes to client work. Not all people that go into the void is in that. Everyone's different, but I think the clients that I draw to me, if they've experienced that very spiritual void place, is they've really hit their numbness. And that's what I was going to say earlier. A lot of times that I've been through this when I was unaware of what I was in a state of numbness. And I've always said numbness is like a bigger fear over any feeling or emotion. I could feel complete, utter rage, and I prefer to feel that the numbness. I can feel the biggest amount of sadness where I can't stop crying for a year, and I prefer to feel that the numbness. Numbness is, it's a very, very damaging space. Kind of like you just said, what did you say when you said overstaying your welcome? You said something specific around the word damage, but it's that feeling. It's like you feel very, very processed. Like
you had enough.
You've had enough. I'm good. I'm done. And that has a checkout of I'm done feeling like this. Let me do something about it. Or I'm done and I'm checking out. And that comes with a lot of, many different versions, from suicide, from becoming a horrible person in the world, letting the world tell you what you should be, and therefore treating people how you've been treated, becoming the abuser, or becoming more meek and mild. And it's like, there's a choice point in that numbness. And I find that that's my clients, when they've chosen me, it's that they're choosing themselves, they're choosing to do something about it. So when they show up for me, my clients show that it's they've chosen themselves. And it's hard, it's hard working with clients where they're sometimes in a space they might be out of that void, but they're still in a space where they're not quite there yet with the belief that this can change, but they are somewhere different to where they've been. That can be really hard for me as the healer. Like, that's when I find my work is not about being enjoyable necessarily. My work is that's when it feels like I'm doing hard work. And I can only take a few clients on like that at a time when that happens. It tends to be one if it is happening. And that's where I think that's where I get to see how I and who I am as a healer, like more so. I wouldn't necessarily want to have that every day that I'm working. But it shows me where I'm up for the challenge, because that's not an easy client healer relationship to have, because I'm firm about victimhood, and there has to be a level me being soft about that, where you are as a victim, because we have to acknowledge you have been a victim somewhere and you maybe still are, but then how do we overcome that and how do we get out of that? And that comes with a lot of tough love, and that could tip someone back into the void. So it's a really delicate, but when it's done, I can say that most it has been done with. Only one client comes to mind, where I didn't kind of fulfill what I set up for, but I just think I wasn't equipped yet. But it also took the experience with that client for me to then get really like, right, I need to do this. And I went back into my training with my guide and with my spirit and everything. So again, it's not that it didn't work. It's like they came in as a teacher to me. But that stayed, but anyone thereafter, I've really invested, but it is a very delicate line. It's quite interesting work.
As you were talking, what came up to me, because Amber, if you don't know, Amber does Wild Grace, and Wild Grace is insane. We have such a journey, and I also healed with Amber. How many times? How many times did
you did 6 sessions with me?
Sessions, right? And it was phenomenal. And the Wild Grace, wow, like it was something that was very new to me and a very different modality of healing, which I am being in Mexico, seeing how moving my body is
right
on another level. It's not thinking out of my wounds, it's moving my body, and I can feel how those wounds, how those pains leaves my body. I still do some energetic work as I can feel it, but yeah. So my question is, how does the spiritual void looks in, this is a big question, in a movement state?
Interesting. I don't think you move.
Because you don't move.
I think it's non-movement is, and don't get me wrong, people will not move their body like because they just don't want to, there's loads of reasons. Doesn't mean you're in the void just because you're doing that. But I think that when that stubbornness is there, that you need to get up and move your body, whether that's take yourself to the gym, go for a swim. Your body keeps like giving you little things of what you're drawn to doing, or you keep seeing it on your timeline or whatever, the laws of attraction starts kicking in with stuff, and you won't do it. You won't commit to yourself. That is the void. That is the space where I think it's like a really stubborn, hard, like, like a kid who will not come and join the PE class, or will not come and play the game with everyone because they want to hit the ball and someone else is hitting. That real stubborn, hard energy, and when they stand firm on it, cannot be persuaded in any way. That's where it shows up in that. I would also say the void can then have this beautiful essence, whereas I think you could be in the void and be really free and really moving your body. I think it's the extremities actually is when you're in the void.
Because that's what as I asked that question, what I remembered is when I was at the Bosom, and when I was, what was it? When it was a sexual song, right? Remember?
Mm-hmm.
Then when I had to stop.
Yeah.
I had to stop. I want to cry.
You're tired.
That was my void, but that was blissful void where I could not move my body anymore. It was so overwhelming, and I had to stop and breathe and allow you to hold space for me when maybe I was in too much bliss.
Yeah.
To hold space for myself.
Yeah.
You know, so like, yes, I resonate with what you said about the deep, dark, stubborn energy, but then that's another extreme of hold me because I can't hold myself because I'm feeling so elated.
Ecstatic, isn't it? And I suppose like going back to the beginning, it's a case of like, like for me, orgasm and the orgasmic experience is a rising, They don't mean you miss out the 3D, 4D, 5D, or this kind of lower energy into the higher frequencies of energy. You don't just miss it out because you have an orgasm. You rise through it. Now, you might rush through it, and you might have for a split second a very dark thought, but because it's gone, because it's happened so far, you go into that ecstatic. And I suppose that's, for those that are wondering what Wild Grace is, the closest thing that people are talking about at the moment, which I don't claim any of these labels, but the ecstatic dance and the somatic dance, all of this like kind of moving on a very deep level, is the closest that I have felt to an orgasm without having an orgasm, in the sense of without drugs, without alcohol, without like a stimulant, just you and your body, you and your mind, you and your heart, you and your physical body, like as one, like go into this space where, all right, you're not literally having an orgasm, but you're going somewhere that feels very out of body and out of control. Yeah. And when if you've got a Lilith like mine that's a control freak, that for me can feel very similar to how the dark version of the void can feel, which is like you said, hold me because I'm going somewhere that I haven't got any control, and my human is freaking out, but my soul isn't. My soul loves being there, and it's allowed to touch there, but it can't stay there. That's the point of death. That's the point of transition and transmutation and transformation. These things are points to meet and come back to, learn something, bring it back with you. And I think that, that's exactly what you described. That is the void. But I think just you're passing.
Yeah, just me remembering my experience right now, which I did not remember until this moment,
Yeah.
It brought these emotions because I remember how I felt. I remember how vulnerable I felt and how orgasmic I felt at the same time. There was no fear, nothing, because I trust you, obviously, and I felt really free, and I felt like, oh my God, whatever downloads are coming in, it is the fucking bomb, But at the same time, I was so vulnerable, and that vulnerability is it's exactly that. It's that void. But it's high. It's
just there.
Yeah.
It's all happening at once. And I think when I am my most, and that's why you do it in safe spaces, so you can go to those spaces. Like I said, I could do a dance in my room, and I can go to those spaces, but it has to be done safely. I can't be doing that whilst I'm trying to also look after my daughter, and I can't go to those spaces when I'm there. I can only do that when I'm on my own. I'm safe. My bed is there. If anything is going to happen, I can just lie down, safe environments, so that you can explore those parts of yourself and you can go through. I would say that I feel like it's like a rising through that void, opposed to like dancing fully in that void. You're like passing through it, because you have to acknowledge it.
Well, like what you said, I kind of felt like Kundalini rising.
That's like, we've got all these like spiritual journeys all about sort of deprogramming, deconditioning yourself, coming back to the simplicity, but then we pick up all these new other labels. But when you actually come into that's why I think the physical healing is so important. That's why I won't take the labels of people like, oh, you do a static dance. I'm like, I don't. I haven't been trained by anyone. I've never met anyone who done it. I've just know that it exists in the world. Oh, you do somatic dancing? No, I just move sometimes in a stiff way. If I'm trying to think about money, for instance, it makes me dance stiffly. That's something I've noticed about myself. Why? Because there's a rigidity there that I'm working through. There's a lack that I'm working through. Of course, it's going to come up in a small kind of feeling, and so there's this understanding. But it's like, just if you just come into the body and don't try and understand it, you just feel it. Then what to do the next time that arises within yourself. Whereas when you're putting the label to the thing the tool that you need to have for that, you forget. You can't possibly remember. Your body is muscle and it has memory, and you're water and you have memory, and it will remember how it felt. And you will know, I need to tap into that feeling. What was I doing when I got that feeling? Oh, I was dancing. Okay, I need to go dance. Oh, I was singing. Oh, I need to go and sing. Oh, I was baking. I need to go and cook for somebody. It's so simple. And I think the more we get into that, the closer we're going to get into, like, we don't have to have, I suppose, the labels to understand it. Even, spiritual void. It's like, there's just a space I have to go to sometimes in order for me to reset and understand myself. And I can feel it in my body. It's connected to nothingness and everything. What is that? You know?
Yeah. That's exactly it. I must ask, what is your Lilith?
Cancer.
Oh, is it?
Cancer. Yeah. Which is very strange for me because I have barely any water in my chart. So I think I have a Pisces in Mercury, which does come out, but it comes out the more Purana version of Pisces, opposed to the and the poetic and dreaminess of Pisces definitely comes out. But other than that, everything is air, earth, and fire.
Nice.
That Lilith really, I feel like she slaps me with a fish because I just keep crying about this. What do you mean that you want to control everyone? What do you mean that you be a little bit, you know, internalized and smoody? And would you like, to me it's just so far away from all my other placements, and it's like, oh my God.
Wow.
But then I really admire cancers in the world, so it's also got that niceness to it, because a lot of my best friends in life have been cancers, so I've learned a lot from that. And it is in, because I always understood them, why they're doing what they're doing, but other people might be like, they're hard work, and I'm like, nah, it's just give them a minute. And that's how it's how you have to be with me. It's like, give me a minute when I'm in that zone, like, I'll be all right soon.
See, I don't have any water except of Pluto in Scorpio.
Oh yeah, and Scorpio. I don't really class that as water.
Yeah, because it's such a generational thing, right? So, but my Cancer is the South Node, and I'm really seeing that come out in the dorm life, in the hostel life. Everyone knows me as the mummy of the room. I like you say things like, no, what is the saying? Well, I rule the room, you know, but I take care of everyone.
Yeah.
You know, if you need someone, if anyone is sick, if anyone is this, and I take care of, and I'm like, I have never seen it this way. I'm like, shit. I was like, and then I have to be this business minded. Okay, I'm doing the podcast, like I'm seeing it as well, right? But that, yet again, it's kind of like void, really, because it's two extremes, and I'm like, how do I make these two meet together, right? Because I'm like, businesswoman, make money, but then I'm so comfortable in being this nurturer and like, come to mommy, let me feed you.
You know? I think as well, like, that's also just the feminine, isn't it? That's like the feminine's journey right now. It's like, what do I want? I like being this sort of like boss lady, boss woman, free, but then I'm also really enjoying this family dynamic of like, what does that mean to me to have a family, you know? Being like, for instance, my situation is I'm a single mother, but very much have a co-parent, beautiful situation as well. But that all like is like, well, what does that mean as family? Like, because then like obviously I do want a partner who is also family. It just blows my mind. So I think it's part of the journey. It is part of the journey, but it's also, maybe they're not supposed to meet. Maybe they are supposed to be not separate. Because I know that our fellow teacher would be like, no separations. But they maybe they're just supposed to be side by side. Maybe they're not supposed to merge, you know, they don't have to.
That's exactly what South Node and North Node is, right? It's like you are both things, and you have to, it's like yin and yang. It's not merging, it's side by side, right? So it's very interesting to see, as you said as well, and maybe it's it probably is collective, like seeing those both sides of you and really loving both sides of you. Not one is not better than another. You are those sides, you know, and then other things comes through, like my Lilith is in Sag, so knowing the extremes, I know extremes very well, you know, and I like more of everything, you know, but learning as a traveler now, you know, that okay, more is not better, you know.
Yeah, because this too shall pass, right? Every good moment has to pass. It can't stay, just like every bad moment can't pass. But we only apply that to badness or darkness or things we don't want to feel. And it's like it has to apply to the goodness. Those things pass. And one thing that I've really learned is that when I'm feeling like that, is like I'll call my energy back to me from that good moment, because actually you leave yourself out there when you're feeling good, because you're like, I want to feel it again, so I want to kind of manifest some more of that. But it doesn't stop you from manifesting that by calling your energy back. You're just saying, no, time to center now, time to come back to our neutral space and just be content and calm, and then again expand and then come back. Because if we're constantly expanded, we actually don't really then enjoy the more that comes through. It's not that we're not going to receive more, it's when. But I do get that, what you were saying about that. I see that in a lot of Sagittarius actually energy that I've never really noticed before. But yeah, that more quality.
I get, because I am a Sag Sun, Sag Venus, and Sag.
Wow.
I love the sun, but it's like, what's going on here? Like, where is me? I can't see me. Yeah, so I got the triple Sag. Wow. And I think the Lilith has been my greatest teacher.
Yeah.
And the Ayahuasca actually helped me to understand that when it came to that, you put yourself in danger. So now you have an opportunity to not do that to yourself anymore.
And also, like, so everything that the Lilith teaches me, I'm like, okay, so for instance, a friend was talking to me about, she has a pettiness quality about her that she doesn't like. She's on her spiritual journey and she's trying to understand it. And I said, well, pettiness is kind of attention to detail, because often people notice the things that others don't notice, or things that kind of like, that wasn't really a nice thing to say because it seems so small. So if we flip that on its head, it's like, well, then you pay attention to detail, right? That means you're someone who kind of will get the things that others won't. You'll see something in someone that other people won't. So I take from the Lilith whatever she's given me as a control freak, for instance. That's like one of the qualities I've noticed of it, is that means that I am someone who needs help. So why don't I let people help me? Why do I delegating? I'm a really good person at delegating. Why are you not honoring that skill that you have? You're just keeping yourself like this. Oh, sorry, 1 second. Yeah, so that kind of has taught me a lot. So I think like that's a good way to kind of help, I suppose, as well, even with the void stuff with this, because it comes back to that understanding that, like, we can always flip it around. The void has lots of answers for us to.
It's perspective. It's perspective. The thing is, we are still in duality. We are in duality, right? We are not in oneness yet. I mean, we're striving to be, but we're not. Let's just be honest.
Yeah.
And everything is perspective. So, like, what I wanted to share actually, and this is a great moment to bring that in. When I had the big C, I was waiting for it, because I was like, you know what? There was no, like, when it all started, when everyone was sick, it wasn't my time, because my time was different. Like, I had to hold space, I had to gather information, I had to be strong for me and everyone around me when they were freaking out. That's that time when I didn't have to be the guide and the teacher that I naturally am. Then I was able to be sick.
That's so true.
And was I sick? I was so sick for 2 weeks, right? And I gone through 5 days of extreme pain. And every time I was in so much agony, like on the 3rd day, my hips gone. Like at certain time, I think it was like at 2 o'clock. At 2 p.m., my hips would be in so much pain that I had to go lay down for 3 hours. I don't know what the fuck was going on. I was in agony with my hips. So I've gone through the fever in the first 2 days, like awful fever. But every day I was like, cool, thank you. Like, I was so grateful. And people think I'm like nuts, but I was so grateful, because I was like, everyone was talking about this, crown activation, because, the big hobby is the crown, right? Or whatever. And I was like, I'm feeling this. I am really feeling it. And I am understanding why this was supposed to happen right now. And the lessons. I learned so much within those 2 weeks of laying and not being able to do anything, not even like being on the phone, like I couldn't. I was so poorly. But every day I was so grateful to be going through that experience. And I was grateful for the void. I was like, yay, I got
that, when I said earlier that I was sick, that's what I was referring to. I felt so grateful. And I was the same. I was in absolute agony. I couldn't get out of bed. I couldn't walk. I had to look after a toddler. Like, it was impossible. It felt impossible. Like, I look back and I think I was in awe of myself. Like, wow, how did I do it? The whole house had it as well. And I think it was the household had it as well at the same time. Exactly the same. But I'd never had that perspective that, I didn't get it till August last year, which is, very late in the game.
July last year.
And I held space throughout the whole of that period. And there was a lot of people talking out about, there's going to be a wave of the healers that kind of do a big body of work at this point, and then another wave of this. And I feel I've not actually been surrendering. So thank you for this whole conversation, because with the recent space of the bosom closing, there's been a lot of need to surrender. And I have, like I said, that void was calling, because I was like, I don't need to engage with that. I know what's happening. It's not my childhood trigger that's happening. I'm aware of that. I'm not gonna surrender into that part of it. I'm surrendering into what needs to be learned in this moment, in this present. So I've been very present through this whole process, but I had totally forgotten that, there would be a moment where I need to take a bit of a back seat. And I've been feeling a lot like, other healers are coming through, and I'm really happy about it. And like, yes, like people I've been waiting for, like friends, people I admire, whatever. But then I was like, oh, okay, but then this has some sort of effect on me. But then I have other doors opening with other worlds, other industries that I want to venture to, right?
She's our up and coming model.
So, thank you, because I've forgotten that. And that was the warning from that time in August, actually. Like, you've done a body of work, now go and go down this road. And I haven't, that's why I kept getting sick, because I wouldn't surrender to it. And I only surrendered a couple of months ago. But I've just, you've just given me the epiphany of like, oh, duh, we've been tested.
Synchronicity is amazing.
So but
awesome.
The healer's journey is very, very interesting, especially with things like spiritual voids and things. So
amazing. Well, I think we can wrap up.
Yes.
It's been a beautiful conversation. We have covered so many things, and what I love about having conversations with people is how, as spiritual beings and philosophers, we can take something and we can take one thing and make into this beautiful, interconnected, united, everything and nothing at the same time, that will serve, whoever will come across this video, and make things, I think, bring clarity. I don't want to say make things easier, because there's just bullshit. But bring clarity. And I really didn't know why I was supposed to be doing this, but I think this is what it is. Like, with the way everything is going in the world, and spirituality and everything changing so rapidly, some clarity is
it's nice to sit with that when you, especially like I said, if you're in the void and you're sat with yourself and that's all you want to do, it's not many people that you will want to hear. So if something does penetrate at that time, it's your message. So anyone who's in the void right now or feeling that, and you have sat through this, then I know something's in there for you. That's the beautiful, like exactly what you said. It's beautiful to give clarity, especially when you're in a space where you're like, I just don't know.
And that don't know is also a
I know.
really beautiful place to be,
Mhm.
because anything can happen, anything can
Yeah,
come to you, you know,
yeah,
and you can manifest your reality after that. I don't know, to be the most beautiful, life-changing experiences, you know. So
agreed. Well,
yeah,
thank you so much for having me. It was wonderful.
thank you so much, and I will speak to you whenever I speak to you.
Hey, darling. Speak to you soon.
Speak to you soon. Bye bye.